do know. And double Advent Blader and a Shadowed Assassin. So very interesting list. I do like the Shadowed Assassin. It has a lot of potential value.
Yeah.
And I can understand why the front guard sort of combat double Tsubaki
Mm.
and then Dragoon Charlotte. So it should be an interesting first matchup.
Right now we're getting straight into the game.
All right.
So right now we have Force versus Swords, and it was a pretty good prediction, if I do say so myself.
Yep. Let's see. So, wow, that's a pretty good start for Forest. Having that Fairy Whisper on 2 to try and get down the Ancient Elf. The problem is Sword runs a lot of 1/2s that can combat the fairies very well, so it's going to be difficult to get a pretty big Ancient Elf. Maybe at most it might get a +1 if it gets that. So Ancient Elf is a really good card, especially when you go first, because you're able to dictate the board better. So we'll see what play he makes here.
I think it's rather for him to build up fairies with the Sylvan Justice.
Yeah,
seems about right.
Yeah, I would definitely just do that. You know, next turn he can go into Fairy Whisper, Fairy Circle, and try and just flood the board with fairies. You know, he could get a good Altered Fate. The problem with that is he is throwing away, you know, a good Evo on turn 4. He is losing his Ancient Elf. For here, I would probably just Ancient Elf. You want to try and just negate some of that damage.
I think it might be. We need to play both play a fairy and a Fairy Whisper. Maybe set up an Ancient Elf. If not, he can also play the Elven Princess on turn 4.
Yeah,
just to play that one too by itself. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you just play the Ancient Elf here. Try and stop some of that damage. Maybe he has to run in, you know, his board, and it leads you right into a turn 4. He can make a really big Altered Fate soon. You get the 0-cost fairies, he can decide to play them or not play them. Double Fairy Whisper and a Fairy Circle, so it's a lot of shadows generated and a lot of cards he's able to cycle into to get into his Fairy Beast and his Will of the Forest. He did pick up another Ancient Elf, so I don't even know if you really want to Altered Fate anytime soon.
No, he like you said, he needs to generate as many fairies as he can. So I can see him playing just a Fairy Whisper, Fairy, or double Fairy Whisper. Let's go with that.
I would probably Elven Princess Mage here and drop both 0-cost fairies, because next turn you can Fairy Whisper into Ancient Elf. Because you figure turn 5, when Sword goes first, you plan on them having Floral Fencer. He's got plenty of ways to fill his hand with fairies, and he can make a relatively big Ancient Elf. It's good he had the Aurelia here. Alright, he's gonna Evo it. This is tough.
He's going to have to use the Ancient Elf there. Crystallia is not too bad though, but
oh, we picked it up after he used the fairies.
Yeah,
that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I would honestly, I would have Fairy Whisper, Fairy Circled, and Altered Fate, and you know, traded in my board. I can see this play. He's able to Evo, kill this, have 2 on board, and you know, maybe play another Fairy Whisper here.
Yep.
Get his hand full of fairies. This is a good line of play.
Do you want to play the Altered Fate here though?
No, I would play the Fairy Whisperer. Maybe he's just trying to set up a big Ancient Elf. I don't really. You see most decks running Dance of Death.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't like throwing all my cards on the board for an ancient elf.
I feel like he could have just played the fairy circle and just a fairy there instead of. I think this might be a greed play for the ancient elf. Sometimes they run Tsubaki as well.
Yeah,
so.
and he runs 2 in his deck.
Yeah, he has no fear for that.
Then again, you know, he doesn't really know what's in his deck. Some lists don't run Tsubaki. It could have been a more aggressive sword.
Well, the player have an hour or a day to study, but the thing with Aoshi is that one of the player was disqualified because he was using the wrong deck the entire tournament. So Aoshi just came in the last minute. So Xeno might not had the time to study. He had like about an hour.
Yeah, and that's what I meant. He didn't have the opportunity to maybe look over it. So,
yep, and there it is.
Yep, there's the Tsubaki.
There's the punish.
That's okay though. Leading into this turn isn't bad because he is able to play Tia if he wants to.
What's also good here is that he didn't use Ultahime as well.
Yeah,
that is usually used for turn 6.
He's just buying time. He knows he's got the Alter Fate. And he still has, so he can Fairy Whisper, Nature's Guidance, Fairy Whisper, Fairy Circle, Alter Fate. I mean, he's got a way to really get deep into his deck, and he might be trying to set up a, you know, like a chain Altered Fate play.
Yeah.
Get into his Fairy Beast or the Will of the Forest here.
He's going to have to. Yep. No Evos now.
Oh yeah, that's unfortunate for the sword player.
Does he? He doesn't run Olivia's.
No.
No.
Yeah, this is very unfortunate for the sword player. Oh my gosh.
Well, this is also a little unfortunate for the P2P player as well.
Yeah, that Altered Fate just became
Yeah, so now, like, he has to win by tempo.
Yeah, he's just gonna have to play it out. Honestly, at this point, you might be better off just Fairy Circling, Altered Fating, and grinding him out.
Yeah.
Getting into your Will of the Forest and your Fairy Beast and playing it out. The thing is Aoshi here does play a little bit higher curve cards, such as the Friend Guard General and the Dragon Charlotte. So
what's good here, he can actually reuse the Crystalia Tia again. So that's good.
Ancient Elf into Tia, and that's really strong board.
Oh, Rip Fairy. That's good though. That means you get a shadow out of it. It's currently at 15, and going against a 4. Gemini having a little fun here.
Yeah. Getting a little of that BM in there.
Hopefully he pulls out a second Tsubaki. I don't know, there isn't really a whole lot of way out of this.
No, this is really bad for the sword player. Being down to 3 cards.
Yep.
Even Tsubaki wasn't good there. And he picked up a Glimmering Wings at this point. Yeah, he just gets one of them down, and he can Altered Fate and try and get into another one.
Or Glimmering Wings, I think that's what he's...
If you Glimmering Wings, you burn one of the cards. So you would just Altered Fate.
Alter Fate. Oh, this is actually a good hand.
The Sylvan Justice and go face for 13 damage. So
sack the Tia. Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty much over from here, simply because the double Fairy Beast and Will of the Forest, and the Forest has the board here, and it's really hard for Sword to try and clear a board like this. It would help if he had Tsubaki to kill this Ancient Elf, but with what he has in his hand, it was just nothing he could really do.
So the game 1 goes to XenoGemini, and now he is to play his swords.
Yep, he's got his mid-range sword.
Now we're going into game.
That was a pretty quick game.
It was. I think they're waiting for a confirm, so I'll be communicating with them really quick.
Okay. I'm just looking over decks that we have in the tournament.
So Gemini takes one. And on to the second match.
Alright, so the second match we will have XenoGemini playing his mid-range sword. And we have Aoshie, he can decide to stick with his sword or go with his Seraph Haven. I would probably go with my Seraph Haven. It does have heal in the deck. It runs the Hair of Illusion.
And they're usually pretty strong against swords
Yes,
as
with
well
Decrees.
as in the matchup. With Decrees?
It has, yeah, it's triple Decree. It's a Seraph deck.
Alright.
So triple Decree, triple Seraph, Death Sentence. I mean, Hair of Illusions. Very interesting. Yeah, he did go with the Haven here.
Which is a good choice to switch.
I haven't seen that card back really used. I don't think I've ever seen it used.
A Grand Blue?
Yeah, I haven't seen, you know, with how many card backs there is, people
Yeah.
run.
Yeah.
Pretty cool seeing it.
Good stuff. Gemini has a pretty good hand here.
Yeah, it's decent. You know, he's got a curve.
The only thing is that he needs a better 3-drop though. That Angelic Barrage is not going to be of use.
Yeah, it's really not.
Tsubaki's gonna be good though.
I mean, it's gonna be decent. If he doesn't play Alanis in his Seraph deck, it's just pure Seraph. So he doesn't have very big. He doesn't have anything really big. So Tsubaki's not gonna do much. Oh, the turn 2 Aria into the dreaded turn 3 Dogma.
Into a Hair of Illusions.
Interesting. This should be fun.
Yep. Here's the thing with the Hairs of Illusion, for those of you who don't know. It's a 1-drop, right? And it has a countdown of 3, and it summons a Dream Rabbit. And with a Dream Rabbit, it is a 1/2 ward, 4 play points. But when it dies, it searches, or it becomes Hair of Illusion countdown again. Basically, you can have a set of wall and keep blowing them up over and over and over to get that ward in there. It's not a popular choice for cards, but
yeah, it's definitely interesting to see. It's an interesting card. I do like the card, and I probably should try and play around with it, but it definitely has its own unique value. So he just clears there with the Angelic Barrage. The problem is it's already turn 5, and
he doesn't have a board.
Yeah, it's just going to be very rough for the sword player here without having anything on the board. He did pick up an Aven Blader, so
yeah.
That's a good pickup.
Which means that he's able to get 2 cards that are officers from his deck into his hand, thinning out his deck. So he opts out of it and chooses Aurelia instead, which isn't a bad choice. He can also just I still feel like Avon Blader might have been a better choice, but he does need to push for something.
Yeah, this has a lot more pressure on the board because it does have the ward. So if he does Evo something, he has to run it in. He can follow that up with Alweidas and try and save Avon Blader until later to play cards off of it.
Yep.
So I definitely see why. Generally against Haven 2, he obviously, when he saw that Hair of Illusions, he doesn't know exactly what kind of Haven. He probably assumes it's some kind of Seraph variant or maybe even a PTP Haven if he didn't get to look at the list. But he probably knows it's Seraph. And generally, Seraph doesn't have 3 followers on the board too often unless they're going in for a big heal turn. So just uses the Decree there to clear that out. I mean, that's really good for the sword player that he forced him to sort of use a decree there, because if he can get into his Odahime and Sage Commander, you know, he can still push damage. And as long as the sword player has a threat, it's very hard for a Haven player to just drop a Seraph.
Yep.
Because you have to worry about the board.
Usually, when Seraph players or Haven in general who runs 3 Decree, like they can do it prematurely just to have like a second one in hand to do it again.
Yeah, no, definitely. If you did have a second one, you have no problem burning it. It's just going into that turn 6 and he used the Decree prior. He must have, I mean, you would have to think he has another one in hand. Unfortunately, we don't get to see his hand, which is something we hope changes in the near future. But you would assume with him just using a Decree there that he would probably have another one in case he did get Odahime.
Yeah. And there's the Seraph drop down, so he needs to figure out how he's going to do 14 damage. Might even have the 4 cooldowns. No, 3 cooldowns reduction.
Yes, he could have the 3. If he doesn't, he could have the Decree. And he does have the, you know, the the rabbit pop here. So
alright, that's 1.
Yep. All he needs is Dogma and a Healing Prayer.
There's the healing prayer. Is there a 3rd? There it is.
Win by Seraph.
Exodia!
It's unleashed.
And Aoshie takes the win. It's a pretty smart move to have a rabbit there, to be honest. Even though it didn't really do much.
But it could have, you know, especially when you're low on life. That can definitely save you. So let's say he opted to Decree, even being at 5 health. You know, what is the sword player going to do? He has to get rid of the ward and have the damage to go face. So, no, the rabbit actually interacts pretty well with Seraph in that regard.
Yeah.
Alright, so we are going to have sword versus sword for the final match here, and the first match of the final 8. It looks like he does, so Xeno has the first Evo. In this matchup, it's very draw dependent on how good of a curve you have. So let's say
he has an amazing curve.
Yeah, you know, he has 1, 2, 3. That's all you can ask for. If he picks up a Floral Fencer, then, you know, he had the perfect curve. What helps I actually like going first as sword. Usually if the one sword player has Floral Fencer, you can follow it into an Aurelia. And then when they kill it, you can drop your Odahime and then Sage Commander. That's your ideal play, especially when you only have the 2 Evos, but you're going first. You get the initiative on playing Odahime and Sage Commander, and that can really win you the game in the mirror matchup. And that's why I prefer it. It's good he had the Aurelia here. Weird. Okay. Well, that curve is working out very well for him. Alright, so that Pompous Princess into that Quick Blader to push some damage. He does have the 3-2 from the Fervid Soldier, getting the +1 from the leader being played. Does opt to just go face.
He does have a fencer, so he's gonna definitely utilize that to trade. Do that fencer.
He might opt to go face, see if his opponent trades, and if he doesn't, he does have the Aurelia.
Okay.
So, he has
Would
options
you Evo?
he could trade.
And go
I
face?
probably would Evo here. I would Evo and clear out the Fervid to leave that...
He trades.
Well, I guess this way, it leaves them... Huh, interesting. I guess maybe he's thinking about if his opponent Aurelia's or if he plays like Floral Fencer Evo.
Well, the thing with this is that I think Gemini wants to go safe here and not overextend. But this
Yeah.
is a good opportunity for Aurelia for turn 2. He hasn't used an Evo yet, but
I mean, that's fine. If you're Aurelia here,
he needs to play around it.
yeah. I would... It depends what he has in his hand. He might not need to. Maybe he wants his board to die because he has Odahimi, but he's gonna have to be able to answer that Aurelia.
Alright, so he's going to go for allowing him to have the Aurelia here. So the choice is between Avon Blader, but Aurelia's values is way too good here. And he does pick up a C-Queen too.
Yeah, this is optimal. Aurelia into Odahimi is big. And everything on board doesn't kill this Aurelia, so he would have to Evo something into it.
He has to... Avon Blader would do it too. And then he can go
Yes.
face for 3.
Yeah.
Have it though. This doesn't look good. He has to trade multiple things into it.
Yeah, he's gonna have to trade, the maid leader he just Evo'd and the Pompous Princess in to kill it. And it leaves him not with a very strong, it leaves him with almost no board. And
Yep.
then you have Xeno able to follow up with the Odahimi. So,
With C-Queen, it's also difficult too.
yeah, I mean, you could just Evo one of the 1-2s, have 2, 3, 4s on board, clear out 2 of the followers here, and you're in a very good position. He had the initiative here with this first Odahimi, and usually that's enough to win you the game unless your opponent has a very good answer to it. Especially being sword versus sword in the mirror matchup.
Veteran Lancer? Fervor Soldier, so he's going for the more aggressive route.
Yeah, be able to put more damage down if, he does clear something here. He has the Fencer to boost it up for damage. Oh, there's his Odahimi.
Well, the thing here is that he has to trade most of them in, or instead he can just go face, all face here. But not a good choice.
I mean, it's not bad. Yeah, you just trade 2 of these in. You can Fencer one of the guards. You can clear relatively easy here, and that's what I would opt to do. Because you have the board, and...
Closing him out is the way to go when you want to play against a mirror match.
yes, you don't want him to be able to Sage Commander a board and return the game around.
Yep.
You're already in a very good position. He would know if he looked at the decks that he's not running anything like Alexander or something to really destroy the board.
Yep.
And all he has to do is control the board while putting in some chip damage along the way.
He's also running out of cards, but so is player 2. Ooh, he does. So much for that. I just said that too.
There's the Advent Blader to get some more cards into his hand.
So, why do you think he's running a Unica at mid-range?
Well, just to combat in the mirror matchup, and to combat against aggressive decks like Tempo Forest or Bloodbat or Stormhaven, having Unica presents itself as sort of a pseudo ward. It doesn't have ward attached to it, but by it healing 2 every turn at the beginning of your turn, they sort of have to kill it because they aren't going to be pushing as much damage. Yeah, there was a Shattered Assassin we talked about.
Yeah, that actually started becoming popular in some of the mid-ranges.
Yeah, there's a
But I
new
did it
list that's
first.
I invented it.
I invented that. Somebody just copied off of me. But yeah, it's starting to become popular, and the way the strategy you use with Shadow Assassin is that it's way to push for damage, and it stops spells.
Yeah, it
fact.
stops spells. It'll let you keep your board. If you have a decent board down, like by turn 4, which Sword can easily have with cards like Pompous Princess, leading that on turn 4 into, you know, having to keep your board big enough to where all of a sudden you can drop a Sage Commander afterwards. Could be pretty
That
big.
doesn't look good. So now he can just go face here.
Yeah. Very unfortunate for Aoshi here. Yeah. I don't know if there's really much you can do at this point. I don't think anything he could draw, even if he drew an Aurelia. Because he could just trade. Well, maybe. Maybe if he drew Aurelia and was able to go face, he might be in an okay position. He drew the Sage Commander, unfortunately, that's it. So it does look like XenoGemini does take the first win here. Well, he took both games,
Yep.
so he does move on.
The number 1 seed moves on. Alright. That was an interesting match. Both of them also teched in different things as well.
Yeah, they both had different cards. And Xeno runs. He doesn't actually run the whole Pompous Princess setup. He runs double Unica, one of Princess Vanguard, and double Fencer. So definitely different.
So Aoshie is now knocked down to the losers bracket, and we're gonna go ahead and start watching. Oh, and I guess they already started. I think I already have Night Trip, so maybe we can sneak that in.
Alright, sounds good to me.
I'll let you know. We may.
Night Trip and Neo Armstrong?
Never mind. Okay.
Okay.
So we're gonna go ahead and watch Aoshie's and whoever is with Nevis, the matchup win versus Nevis and Sinji.
It does look like Neo, from looking at the bracket, it does look like we have Neo Armstrong and Addict, aka Chinese Economy, in the round 2.
Their match should be almost done. Right now, the purpose is to get the last previous stream took about 5 hours, so we're trying to make this one a little bit short.
Yep. Alright, let's see. So we're just waiting on the matches to start, guys, so we can...
We're almost there.